This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah, I think I'm not sure, but looks like it's one Shantana Marutu. Uh,
The guy with white T-shirt, please switch off your webcam.
Yeah, please. Okay. Can you hear me now? Hello. Yeah.
Please carry on, sir.
yeah,
Carry on.
please proceed.
I'm sorry, yeah. So in a generally accepted scheduling schedule principle is nothing but it's an intentionally, but they are intentionally broad, but they at certain very high expectations for building and a reliable and a quality schedule. So as I've mentioned, there are they are nothing but an 8 overarching tenets for building and for building, maintaining, and using a very reliable schedule. So any schedule, whatever has been developed, should have two important qualities. One is the schedule should be valid, and a schedule should be effective. So when do you call a schedule as a valid schedule? So for a schedule to become a valid schedule, it should be first complete, it should be traceable, it should be transparent, it should be status, and it should be predictive. What it is and what it is not, you will be seeing in the next slides. And when we call a schedule is an effective, and when the schedule is usable, resourced, and when the schedule is controlled, then the schedule will be an effective schedule. So when you say in a GASP, it looks like very simple and very broad. Yeah, it's intentionally it is is kept it as a very broad. Is because when you started detailing and explaining it, then it constrains the people's thought. So where we will be leaving it here with a bit of an explanation of about all these 8 tenets in the next slide. So when you say a schedule is a complete, a schedule is complete when it captures the entire discrete and authorized project effort from from a starting to a completion. It means yes, it covers the complete the scope of the project is captured. That's what it means. And whenever it means then a schedule is complete, it means it's an all authorized effort of the entire contract for a contractor, or if it is a owner, the complete scope of the project is what is reflected. Then it is called a complete. And when you say it's not only if you are a project owner, not only your schedule should be integrated with your subcontractors and a subcontractor schedule, and also and external interfaces and the milestones of the projects are also integrated into it. Second is about traceable. So when you say a schedule is a traceable schedule, so a schedule is when it is horizontally and vertically, it is traceable with a cross reference to the key documents. I mean, what is an horizontal traceability? Is a vertical traceability. Probably you'll be in a detailed way you will be having it tomorrow. But in one line, when I had to say that every activity has got a predecessor and a successor, and it is well connected. The entire network logic is traceable. Then it is horizontally traceable. In the same way, every schedule will be attached to our breakdown structure. Also, you'll be knowing, you'll be introduced to all this, briefly tomorrow, as well as in the in the EVM module. When you are able to consolidate the dates and the scope and in different work breakdown structure levels, then it will be called a vertically traceable schedule. And the third is about one of the most important and challenging aspect is about is a transparent. See that the schedule, a lot of guys develop the schedule for the sake of developing the schedule because the client or contractor has asked for or the main contractor has asked for it. Whereas yes, if the schedule doesn't the biggest problem will be like in visibility. If with a schedule, if you are not able to make sense out of what's happening in a project, if it doesn't disclose the full program status, then the schedule is not it's not transparent schedules. So also a schedule should have an it should be a documented ground rules, assumptions, and the methods for building and maintaining it also need to be a part of the development process. Then it should always be state tested. By state, what do we mean by a state test? It means it should be updated regularly in the way it should be done. How it will be done, how it should be updated, it's a big subject, and you'll be will be covered slightly tomorrow and after tomorrow, and also we'll be giving you enough reading material for this, right? So a schedule if a schedule is not status, then it will not reflect the true status, and when you project it also, it will not give you an accurately forecast the the project completion dates and all. It means if it is not properly status, one is then it will not show the current status properly, and also when you are projecting it, it will throw you a very erratic dates and the numbers, right? And this all the first 5 things makes a schedule as a valid, right? And when the schedule is should be usable, it means with the schedule we should be able to it should produce a meaningful metric. It means it should be able to deduce the project status from here. You should be able to calculate the certain predictive indices like a schedule performance indices and all that, right? If it is not, then a schedule will not be a usable schedule. It will be only remain in the paper, right? Then a schedule should be resourced. So when we say a resource, resources, and not many people have actually matured in developing a resource loaded schedule. And I would suggest, at least if not as in a fully resource loaded schedule. By resource loaded schedule, that means what are the resources which are attached to different activities, through which cost is is attached to those activities, right? Even if we are developing that requires a lot of depth and understanding, but at least as a beginner should start with at least a cost loaded schedule, and what a cost loaded schedule and all that, probably you will have a in the tomorrow's and day after tomorrow's presentations, people will be introducing it to you. And finally, you might have developed a good schedule, you would have resourced, you would have put a lot of thought in maintaining it and all, but if there will be a lot of changes which will be happening during the course of a project, and unless otherwise scheduled or maintained using a very rigorous, stable, and a repeated documented process, right, then it will be chaotic. When the changes comes in, there is the way it need to be handled, the way the schedule need to be projected, it need to be incorporated into the schedule, right, need to be through a very, very formal process when the schedule is baseline, right? So these 8 things are very, very important, broad principles one need to keep it in their mind when they are developing a reliable schedules, right? So for more information about the GASP and how do you do it, I mean, I would recommend, there are quite a few recommended practices of AAC which you will be introduced to, and also you can refer to the NDIA's planning and scheduling excellence guide. Now, I will when we say a schedule, and the term we'll be using throughout the rest of the webinar. For the next 3 webinar, we'll be calling it as an IMS, Integrated Master Schedule. So what is an integrated master schedule? See, integrated master schedule, I'll go to the next slide and just come back. Yeah. So what do you call it as an integrated master schedule? In an integrated master schedule is nothing but the entire program scope is being mapped into the schedule. That is a project which will have it as a broad milestone which are defined by the customers, based on which broad summary levels schedule will be developed, and the complete work packages and the detailed schedules are all integrated. It means that if you say a building project, you say, let us say it's a complete, let us say a commercial office building. Right, in a commercial office building, you will have a milestone dates. After that, all the work packages, whether it is the preliminaries and statutory approvals, or whether it is an engineering design and the procurement of goods, services, capital equipment, and your complete construction, all the work packages and complete installation and commissioning, right, and close out. It's are all integrated into one schedule, which is called an IMS, or integrated master schedule. So when you develop such a schedule, maybe in tomorrow and day after tomorrow, you might also show you some of the examples of an well-developed and integrated master schedule. When you have such a schedule, then it is nothing but a predictive model of the entire program, right? And IMS will integrate, what it will do, it will integrate the cost, schedule, and the performance requirement, and it is into an interactive tool. And this is developed not only by one planner sitting in a corner. It cannot be done. In the complete project team, headed by a project manager, and the entire team need to sit, work, and help developing the contribute to development of an IMS. Because once an IMS constructed properly, it will be the model of the project. It will be an I would say it's a network model of the project, and also it will help each and every stakeholder understand how the program is going to be executed in the overall program strategy. And also when you are developing such a schedule, it will be it need to be done within the business environment or your organization environment in your mind. And if you're a contractor, your customer expectations, or if you've got an investors or any other stakeholders expectations, need to be built into the IMS. So ideally, an IMS will explain how a program will be, the program leadership is going to execute the program, and it should be owned by the entire project team, not only by the scheduler, right? I mean, most of the cases this fails. Yeah, schedule fails because it is developed by somebody in a in one room, and throwing to the people and saying that if you please go to the field and execute, which it doesn't work. So and the IMS should be frequently updated, and it should be there should be a robust quality hello. Yeah, I'm closing. So it should be there should be a robust quality control is required. And how, I mean, what are all the, how do you develop a quality schedule, and how do you control it? It is in the second and third sessions, right? So with this, I hand over this to Srinath. Please, Srinath, you can start it further. I mean, take on from here.
Thank you, Shankar sir. So to all the participants, I'm Srinath. So as Shankar sir has introduced me, I'm a research scholar at IIT Madras currently now, and my area of research is focused on scheduling, project scheduling. So today my session, I will talk a little bit about project planning and scheduling. I will first go through the traditional classical definitions of what is planning, what is scheduling, and what happens in a plan, what happens in planning, what happens in scheduling. And then I'll talk about a little bit about scheduling techniques. Then I'll go to different books and textbook references and online courses that young professionals and students can undergo The objective of my is to give a pointer, or a way forward for potential people who are looking to gain more deep knowledge in this area. So if any of you are not able to hear me, you can please put your questions and comments in the chat below. I will look through it and I will try to reply immediately as soon as possible. So we will go to the traditional definition of planning. So planning is defined as a determination of project objectives with identification of activities, methods, resources used to accomplishing task, and assignment of responsibility and accountability which are required to establish an integrated plan to achieve as required. So simply to put simply in perspective, so planning is all about achieving the project objectives through identification of activities, through identification of methods, resources for accomplishing the project objectives, project tasks, etc. So next slide, please. So essentially, in planning, we answer 5 critical questions. One is what are the physical and technical objectives of a project? That is, what is the scope of the project? So the project scope must be defined. And second question that we answer is how. So how are we going to achieve the project scope? So that the project scope is actually broken down into different work breakdown structure activities. So next question that we answer is who. So what are the resource commitments and organizational breakdown structure? That is in terms of resources, material resources, manpower, money, those sort of things. And how do you identify all the resources and availability, people and capital assets? And the next question that we answer in planning is when. So timeline. So what is the timeline to achieve all these project objectives? So the goal is to establish the project timeline and sequence of deliverables. And the final question, very important question, is how much. So what is my project budget estimate, and what is the budget for each activity, work package, or group of tasks? So planning is a very broad term. So there are different facets of planning. Cost planning is there, time. So as you can understand from this question, there are different phases of planning. So it is about scope definition. It is about work breakdown structure, identifying, developing a work breakdown structure, resource commitment, developing a time model of the project plan, is the schedule, and how much is the budget. So next slide, please. So planning, one aspect of planning is scheduling. So in that way, we can understand what a schedule is. So there are different definitions of a schedule. So there is a definition which says that when it's the assignment of putting a start and finish times of each activity within the overall project cycle time required for completion. Other definitions could be that it's a process of converting a general or outline plan for a project into a time-based schedule. So it is basically a conversion of a plan into a time-based schedule. Putting a numerical time to a plan is considered as a schedule. Other very detailed definition are that scheduling is ordering of activities within a plan, utilizing additional discretionary logic and restraints and constraints, including adjustment to activity resources. So basically, this is about it is not only the timeline but also the logical constraints, dependencies, and resources between the activities, which is defined as a schedule. So scheduling, we have 2 different phases in a schedule. One is developing a schedule, another is maintaining and controlling the schedule. So what do we mean by developing a schedule? So basically, people who are into this profession of planning and scheduling do the following. So they provide expertise to develop methodologies, techniques and tools for planning and scheduling. They support and provide expert consulting advice to project personnel regarding planning and scheduling. Ensure that the required project plan and controls are appropriately implemented and maintained, and assist the project manager to establish realistic and achievable baseline schedules. So so what happens in a schedule develop? What do we mean by schedule development, and what do we mean by schedule management or control? Next slide, please. So the schedule development is basically the phase of implementing the project schedule by converting the project plan into a logical arrangement and sequence of activities. So here, after a broad plan is drawn out, project planning, activity definitions are more refined. Activity durations are confirmed or estimated, and activity relationships and sequences, including the key milestone and contractual dates, are established in the schedule. So basically, in a schedule development phase, a planning and scheduling professional interfaces with and he gets input from different project members, and using which he develops a baseline schedule. So development of a baseline schedule is the key outcome that comes in the schedule development phase. In the next phase, after the schedule baseline schedule is developed, the project is subjected the schedule is subjected to updation. So the schedule is basically tracked and updated with the actual dates of activities, and the variance between the activity is found out, and the project could forecast the project completion date, based on which the control measures are taken. So implementing project schedule procedures and processes required to maintain the project schedule during the execution phase. So it is basically implementing the project schedule procedures required to maintain the project schedule during the execution phase. And here, project updates are accomplished, critical path, near critical analysis are identified, schedule change management is done, and schedule essentially forecasts the project completion date. So, and providing timely output and deliverables to the project team. So these are the functions of project schedule management and control. So there are different duties of project planning and scheduling professionals. So basically, for young professionals, I think it would be good to know what are all the duties that a project scheduling and professional does in a project site. So he assists in he or she assists in developing and implementation of acceptable planning and scheduling techniques. He prepares guidelines for project planning and related schedule development, management, and control. He supports the project team towards development of project plan and translating the project plan into a schedule. He also, is responsible for implementing the CPM schedule software, timing, and also he also does time impact and delay analysis and review of periodic schedule updates. He also monitors the schedule, prepares and provides project progress report, trending charts, schedule analysis, etc. Maintains records of scope changes, trends, variances of the schedule. So also he's responsible for assuring the credibility of information contained in the schedule, assisting with preparation of project time and cost claims, and assisting in developing and recording the project's historical schedule. So as all of you may see, there are different responsibilities and roles a planning and scheduling professional has to do. So it is not just developing a baseline schedule and monitoring it, but also doing a time delay analysis if the project is project is delayed, and identifying where the delay and who is responsible for the delay, and even documenting the proper delays and making changes to the baseline schedule. If there are any changes to the baseline schedule, systematically documenting those changes in the baseline schedule, updating the schedule according to the proper tools, using proper tools and techniques. There are different tools and techniques. Again, coming to the tools and techniques that are available to do schedules. So there are basically quite a lot of scheduling techniques that are available. So very basic schedule techniques, very obvious, would be the bar charts or Gantt charts. Second would be the activity on arrow and critical path method. Third would be the precedence diagramming method. And there are quite a lot of other techniques also, which would be PERT, location-based scheduling, Monte Carlo simulation, dependency structure matrix. So today I will little bit talk about bar charts, CPM, and precedence diagramming method. So some of you will already be aware of all these things, but I thought I will just brush up. It's always good to brush a little bit of basics before going to the main part. So next slide, please. So bar chart. So as you may, so it is one of the most popular and useful ways of showing activities. It is displayed against time scale, against a time axis. So on left is the list of activities, and along is on top is a suitable time scale. So each activity is represented by a bar, and a portion of the bar reflects the length of the bar, reflects the start date and duration of the activity. So it is as simple as that. Next slide, please. So, but there are several disadvantages of drawbacks of Gantt chart. So it is not recommended to define the work vector structure and schedule activity at the same time. So you can't represent WBS and schedule activity at the same time. So because the Gantt chart may get too much clustered and complicated to comprehend the information. it has some limitations. For example, it is not possible to represent large number of activities. Typically, a project may have a large number of activities, and it should be succinctly represented in the schedules, but it is not possible using a Gantt chart. It is not intended to display useful if they are intended to display very progress information, and it does not represent the complexity of a project. It can be very complex to prepare as well. So there are different drawbacks, and the main drawback is that the dependency between activities could not be established, right? So that is the main drawback. So having the drawback, which led to the development of activity on arrow. So activity on arrow was one of the very historical, very first network techniques that was developed. So where the activities are represented in terms of arrows, and the events represent the start and end date of an activity. So the conditions of events must have unique numbers. Activity must have ij combination, not having closed loop, and should have having. Next slide, please. Activity on arrow. So can the slide be elaborated, please? Yeah, so this is a simplistic representation of an activity on arrow schedule, where dummy activities are required in an activity on arrow schedule. So I'll not go into the details of activity on arrow method. So there are enough resources that you can go. So, next slide, please. So the activity on node is another sort of representation where activities are represented in terms of nodes, and relationships are represented. Start and end dates are represented in that activity, and arrows represents dependency between each activity. So logic is more naturally represented in activity on a node, and here is in the next slide. Next slide, please. So the same network can be represented in activity on node, which does not require a dummy logic or dummy activity to be represented. So this is more succinctly and more straightforward enough to understand under the logic. Next slide, please. So the traditional activity on node assumes finish to start relationships between two activities. But then in real world, there are different other logical dependencies also, which includes start to start. That is activity B, the second activity cannot start, can start only after activity A has started. So those sort of relationships. There are 4 relationships that are start to start, finish to finish, finish to start, and start to finish. So this sort of representation is called precedence diagramming method. This is another prominent technique, and many the popular software like Microsoft Project and Primavera use this sort of representation. Next. So here is an example of a Pretium schedule, which contains a simplistic ABCD activities. So again, there are a lot of details that we can go into, and we can be more analytically, and solve this Pretium technique, which is very interesting if we go deeply inside this. Next slide, please. So basically, a network technique like AON or PDM has all these following technical aspects, like early start, early finish, late start, late finish, project duration, critical path, and it also has flows and resource allocation. So there are different aspects of network schedule that has to be identified. Next slide, please. So here are the basic definitions of critical path method. So early start, the earliest day on which an activity can start. Early finish, earliest day on which an activity can finish. Late start, the latest day an activity can start without delaying the project duration. Late finish, the latest day an activity can finish without delaying the project. project duration is the minimum time required to complete the project. Critical path is the activities on the longest path in the network. So these are all the very basic definitions for critical path method, and I have just given a very small ABCD problem where we identify the early start, early finish, late start, late finish, project duration. Next slide, please. So I think some of you who are familiar with this network technique can understand this. I don't need to explain the early start, early finish, late start, and flows. So here is a simplistic representation which represents forward pass and backward pass of a schedule, and also the critical path. Next slide, please. So here the results can be also, so the advantage of a critical path method is that the results can also be understood from a Gantt chart, but representing the schedule in a network is more succinct and more easy, particularly when it comes to complex relationships and complex logic, which is very pertinent in construction projects. So that is why the critical path method is more advantageous and more prominent. A lot of construction projects use this technique. So mathematically, the early start forward pass can be represented by maximum of early finish preceding activities, early finish, early start plus duration, and backward pass is represented by late finish, which is a minimum of late start of following activities. Late start is a late finish minus duration. This is the mathematical representation of forward pass and backward pass. So I think solving a problem will really help people to understand. So coming to solving the problem, there are different online courses that people can undertake to understand these techniques in much better detail. So today I've not gone into much technical aspects, but today I will talk a little bit on these courses. So there is a project planning and control course by Professor Koshi Varghese from IIT Madras, so which I'm a part of. I'm helping the professor in identifying the course contents, etc. So this course really gets in the detail of planning and scheduling techniques, basics of planning. So and I believe this is a very fundamental course which will be helpful for final year BTech students and also master's degree students, particularly construction management students or project management students. And this course is a very fundamental course, and I would encourage all the students to Google this course and go through the website and see the contents of the course. Similarly, scheduling techniques in project by Dr. Uma Maheshwari from IIT Delhi. This course is very particularly focused towards different scheduling techniques. This is an advanced course. So, but then this also covers the different scheduling techniques like PERT or DSM that we spoke about earlier. So next, there are also generic project management course by professors from IIT Roorkee, IIT Kanpur, and principles of construction management and project management courses. These last three courses are very broad courses, but it's good to undergo this course because it gives a whole umbrella view of what is happening, what are all the knowledge areas in project management. Next slide, please. So so a little bit of detail on project planning and control. So this is an 8-week course. So in the 8-week course, we give a broad introduction about construction project management. We talk about work diagram structures, time management, bar charts. In week 3, we talk about duration estimations, network analysis, and representations. Next, we also cover about time cost trade-off, resource scheduling. We give a lot of examples and real-time examples to solve. So I think it will make the students and professionals to have a first-hand feel of the basics. So we don't go into the scheduling part, I mean the software part of it, but mainly we focus on the theoretical part of it, theoretical fundamental part of project planning and control. So we also cover precedence having, diagramming method, earned value, PERT. Those are other techniques as well. So this is a very comprehensive fundamental course, and I would strongly recommend students and professionals to go look through this course. So now the course is not online. I think in a couple of days, I think we will make the course online. But this Swayam is a portal where students can go log in for free. They just have to give their credentials, username, password, and they have to create an account, and they are free to go through this course contents any number of times. They are also free to download as well. So the videos can be downloaded, the textual information can also be downloaded for all 8 weeks. So there is no restriction. And if somebody wants to go through a certification course, the certification is provided by IIT Madras or any other IITs where that course is part of. So this course is a part of IIT Madras. So people will be getting an IIT Madras certification after successful completion. So what happens here is that people have to enroll on the course, and they have to pay I think sum of 1,000 rupees, and they have to undergo an exam in one of the allotted centers near their place. The centers are available all over India, so they can choose any center of their convenient location, and they are free to they have to undergo an examination. 2 sessions of examinations may be there, and the students can choose any session of their choice, any convenient session of their choice, and they can write the exam, and successful passing of exam will be on successful passing of exam, a certification will be provided. But it is not compulsory to have a certification. People can also log in and download these contents for free. And, yeah, so there are also different main prominent textbooks that students can refer to. So Saleh Mubarak is a very basic book. So this is a very popular book as well all over the world. So this is this book also covers on project planning and scheduling, basics of project planning and scheduling. Project management by Ahuja, Doshi, and Abrozik. This is again a very popular book. And one more very deep book with good examples with deep project scheduling by Callahan, Queckenbash, and Rawlings. So this is a very old book, but it contains very good examples to understand and work out all the project scheduling, project techniques, and project technique problems. And there are also practical. See, from a theoretical point of view, first 3 books is very helpful. But if someone wants to understand really the practice of scheduling, I would suggest the professionals and students to go look through this AAC recommended practices. So understanding the technical part of scheduling is one thing, but understanding the practice of scheduling itself is another mammoth area of knowledge where a lot of complexity are involved. And in scheduling is not as theoretical. Even if it is, if we understand the theory, when you go to the practice, a lot of problems you may encounter, and really the effectiveness of schedule depends on how rigorously the schedule is implemented in the practice. So for that, AAC recommended practices are very good body of knowledge, and to understand the best practices to implement this sort of scheduling techniques. Another material by AAC is TCM framework and PHP study guide. That's also a practice-based body of knowledge that can also be referred apart from recommended practices. And some more Indian authors have also developed theoretical books that is Construction Project Management by K.N. Jha, who is a professor at IIT Delhi. So that's also a go-to book which I would recommend to understand the basics and theory of project planning and scheduling. It is equally important to look at the theoretical books first, and also to understand the practice of scheduling. And there are complexities in practical aspects of project planning and scheduling. And young professionals can also look at this scheduling certification, certificate scheduling technician. So this certification is by AAC. This is a very basic certification. The eligibility would be that students who are postgraduates and graduates who have 4 years of industry experience or 4 years related degree, who hold a bachelor degree, can undergo this certification. So the exam is for 3 hours, and it will have 100 simple multiple choice question, and any calculator, etc. Those sort of material are also allowed. And the advantage of doing this certificate scheduling technician is that the practical aspect to schedule. It will also make the professional students, fresh students, the industry ready. So it is always good to get an industry certification, practice certification before you even join and go start the practice, so that recruiters and potential companies that you are interested in can recognize your certification. So it is a proof that you have understood little bit, have gained an idea about the basics of scheduling, the basic practical aspects of scheduling. This is not a very theoretical certification, but it's a very it's a primer, and it's a sort of an introduction to practical aspects of scheduling. So CST in that terms is a very relevant certification. So I would suggest you also to go to AAC website and look at this AAC scheduling CST certification. People who have more than 3 years of experience actually can undergo planning and scheduling professional certification. That is an advanced certification that requires 3 years of experience.
For 4 years.
I think it an
4
examination
years of
is
an
required,
experience
and experience certificate. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead,
Okay. So with that, I think I would conclude my. With that, I would like to conclude my presentation. And any questions, I think participants can comment, and we will try to answer the questions through reply.
Yeah,
Thank
you. Yeah, this basically it is for college students. So we kept it as an very basic. And planning and scheduling is a very large subject, and even introduction within 1 hour itself is a very challenging and tough thing. So the students who are all interested to read more, I mean, probably you can go through the books, whatever Srinath suggested, and I mean, and a lot of materials also available in the public domain on planning and scheduling, on planning and scheduling, right? And tomorrow and day after tomorrow, we'll go more deep into the planning and scheduling, where we'll be introducing IMP, IMS, schedule control, and all that. Now it is open for questions. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm seeing a lot of registration. I mean, a lot of people have joined, from some WhatsApp reference and all that they've been mentioning. If your email ID is not with us, please send a mail to admin@aacindia.org. I've left a message, and we will be we'll include you in the mailer list for all our future webinars. You will be getting the link.
Thank you so much. I don't have a question, but a request that is it possible to share a sample of the WBS and a schedule to see, I mean, how does the relationship and everything happens and the critical path and those stuffs?
Yeah, it will be given it in tomorrow. I mean, then the next session, which will be on Friday, right? And also on next Monday, I think, right? The next session. And also you will be having an when we are touching an end value management system, right? Also we'll be introducing you to many we will slightly deep dive into WBS there. Yeah, there is a question, and we'll be sending a webinar slides of the webinar session, and I will be sharing the link with you of the webinar. I mean, you can at your whenever you are free, you can run it.
Yeah, I think there was a question on GAO schedule assessment guide. I think on day 3 we will cover all the best practices and standards and guidelines for assessing schedule quality. GAO schedule assessment guide is a part of it, but there are other guides and standards as well. So I think day 3 we will cover those aspects also. So that question I understand is from experienced professionals. So I think for their question, I think GAO and other standards, I think we'll cover on day 3. We have a session on that as well.
And there is a a question from Rahul. It's not it's related to this session, but it says how to register tomorrow's not tomorrow. It will be a Friday. I think when I was telling, I think by mistake I said tomorrow. The next session will be on Friday. For the Friday's webinar, yeah, you please if you are registered, you please send your your email IDs with us. You need not register it again. Else, please send an email to admin@aacindia.org. You will be included in the mailer list. Yeah, there is a question.
There was also another question on
yeah, please, Srinath, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, sir. Go ahead. Okay. There was a question on Primavera P6 and MS.
Go ahead.
Question, I think not a question, but a suggestion of a book. Another book by Mr. Eric Wootewall is also a good book for reference book to understand MS Project and Primavera. And there are also some reports by Mr. Ron Winter. He's also a planning and scheduling professional. I think if you Google him, you will be able to find a good reference material for a MS Project and Primavera. So he has also written very extensively on this scheduling softwares. So yeah.
Yeah, I have one a small piece of advice to all the students. A lot of guys think that if you learn MS Project, Primavera, or any other scheduling software, and you are a planner and a scheduler, the answer is no. Before even learning a tool, right? I would request you conceptually you need to be very, very clear on how do you need to develop. How to develop schedules and what a network is all about, right? And you need to there are enough books which will be introduced to you, as well as will be introducing maybe the end of the the 3-day session of planning and scheduling. Once conceptually you please update yourself, then any tool you can work on any tool. So only an MSP or a Primavera will not make you a good planner. So any fool with the tool is still a fool. So it's not about an the tool, right? It's about the basic complete understanding of the entire subject. It's what is very, very important.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sir, can I ask a question?
Yeah, please. I think your voice is breaking.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
Sir, my doubt is that. Hello.
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Sir, in one of the slides, there was one point that the this bar chart, Gantt chart is not useful for activities more than 30. It will be complex. But if you look at a Primavera schedule, we can see that the entire thousands of activities can be represented by using the Gantt chart in Primavera software. So whether that point is correct?
No, the point that we're trying to make here is that if you only develop a schedule by means of a bar chart, you can't represent many dependencies between activities. See, Primavera is the bar chart that you are talking about in Primavera is the output that is shown with the relationships. Okay, if you only develop a bar chart without relationships, it is very difficult to develop a bar chart, because the time logic, and if you have more number of activities to represent in your schedule, you can't put a timeline to each and every activities and show it in a succinct way. You may not understand the relationships. And one more thing is, when you don't have relationships, you can't understand the project end date, because there's no critical path in the project. So in Primavera software, that what you're referring to is with the relationships, and it is a PDM. It is not a bar chart. Okay, that outcome of the PDM is represented as a bar chart for easy references and view. But technically speaking, PDM, it is a PDM representation because the engine behind Primavera is a PDM representation, which contains 4 sort of relationships, which contains total float, start float, end float, those sort of things. The outcome is being shown to you in the form of a Gantt chart, but it is not a Gantt chart per se.
Yeah. And there are other questions like, and I know whether somebody is
answer your
cover the.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, there are other things like, and how to cover the missed sessions. I would request them to send an email to admin@aacindia.org, and we'll be sending the links of the webinar and which software is better. Okay, as an AAC as a neutral body will not recommend any software. And again, everything has got its plus and minus. But as I told you, right, tool only doesn't make. So everything, right? So any tool is a better tool as long as we know how to use it completely, right? Yeah. Anything else? If there is no other question, I think Bhagya, you can quickly say what you will be covering in the next session if there are no questions.
So, 1 second. There is one question that had come in between, may not be exactly dealing with what we presented today, but then I would like you to answer this question. Is the part of delay analysis technique useful or necessary for contract managers? Can you take that question, please?
Is the schedule?
Hold on. Is the part of delay analysis technique useful or necessary for contract managers?
It is not only for contract managers, for everybody it's required. Yeah. Even for an, whether you are a planner, project managers, or a control account manager who are involved in the project, right? It's very much required. Let's not look at it in a, delay analysis only from the contracts or a client's perspective. See, the whole idea of having all this is not only client, right? Yes, that may be there. It's like, how do you get the project on track? What's going wrong? Where it's going wrong? And what managerial action we need to take? I mean, that's how we should approach the thing rather than purely from a client's perspective. That's, I mean, if anybody has got any other views, you can express. Just because
I wanted to say something.
So we don't like clients. Yeah. Yeah.
Is this delay analysis question on the delay analysis at the time of contract closure or delay analysis for catch-up plan during the course of the project?
It's the question is slightly an open. Yeah, that's also a very valid thing. When it at the time of the contract closure, yes, it has got so many other purpose. But at the time of execution of the project, it should be an only to take understand what's going wrong and take corrective actions. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sridhar. Yeah.
The question, my question was the question to AACE by one of the audiences on delay analysis during the project execution or at the contract closure. That's what I asked actually, not to Mr. Shankar, the person who has asked this question.
Oh, okay. I do not know who. I mean,
somebody is messaging. It's an open-ended question.
Yeah, exactly. It's an.
If it is an open-ended question, then it's a must for even a person from engineering also who is working in a project, because everything, all the delay analysis, even at the time of job execution and at the time of job closure, all will have various factors pertaining to engineering, procurement, construction, planning, everything. So it is must for everyone to have an idea of about delay analysis. This is my view.
Yes, it is very relevant, as you said. Just to add on, hi, my name is Ramapriya. And from a contracts point of view, it is more to do with in terms of controlling the commercial aspect of it. but it is very relevant for all the managers or all the functions to have an idea of where the delay is happening and what are the reasons.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
I think we are, we are 9-2 now.
Yeah, there's one
I
last
think-
question because I think a lot of messages are coming on that. Why start to finish relationship is not recommended in practice?
Either like
I think, Bhagya, if this is the case, I mean, for this we can give a written, what do you call, an answer to all of them, right? It'll take a long time, I think, to give an answer for that, and we can give one written, reply to all of them. Or I think Tejo is
Right.
they're giving a lot of answers. Why it is? Yeah, I think we have crossed 9. We will give a written answer, reply to all of them. Okay. And my request is all of you, those who have not registered, and joined the thing, please send your email or send an email to admin@aacindia.org. We will include you in our mailers. With this, we are closing, and thanks all of you for attending this wonderful workshop. And I thank Srinath and the entire AAC team. Thank you.
Thank you all for the attendance.